I'm moderating the nonfiction and reality panel that basically focuses on from start to finish. How do you take a show from concept through development to the pitch process, what happens after that, all the way through to delivery of the show and the series, and how do you keep the vision that you wanted to do straight throughout the run, and how do you keep the network happy. The PGA started out pretty small. I was the president of a group called the American Association of Producers. We had about 500 members. The PGA had about 350. This was around the turn of the century, around 2001. And we merged, and we became a group of 850. And my goal was always get us to 10,000, because they have to pay attention to you. We are not a union, we are not a guild, but if we have numbers and we have important things to talk about and we have a lot of members, everyone has to listen to us at some point. Whether they agree with us or not is a different story. So my push has always been more members, qualified members. We're not going to open the gates and just let anybody in, but it's always been about recognition for the producer and their team. Everybody from the coordinator up to the executive producer in TV, and from the coordinator up to producer in features. What I often give to young people, or anybody who wants to hear that, is that if you're starting out in your career, think about where you want to be in 5 years, think about where you want to be in 10 years, because you might need to pay the rent and take whatever job there is now on your way up, but eventually you don't want to end up somewhere you don't want to be. So I would always say focus your career where you want to go. The immediacy of trying to get a project made can happen. I mean, things happen quickly sometimes. It's the horror stories of, it took me 3 years, it took me 5 years, it took me 7 years. In television, that's insane. In movies, I get it. They sometimes take a lot longer to get done. But you know, the immediacy of it is get the job, pay the rent, figure out your career path, see where you want to go, work it, network. It's all about who you know. So to me, I think if you have a great project and a great idea and it's ready to go, it doesn't have to be a long process. It can be like that. There's a tenaciousness that you have to have as a producer. And you know, sometimes a project starts out with just an idea for something, or you see a magazine article, or there's a great book or something, or there's a big personality, and you have to remember what sparked your interest at the beginning, because sometimes it's a long process. Some things I've done have taken years and years and years to develop. Other things, you walk in one place and they want to buy it immediately. But it really comes down to keeping track of what it was that excited you about the project and the story you want to tell. So it's really about keeping true to the vision of what the show is in your head. And then, you know, to merge that in with what the network needs. Each network has their own needs and wants, so you have to sometimes make some fine-tune adjustments to where you want to end up. But it really comes down to what is the show you're selling, what is the show they want. Can those meet in the middle? And if they do, great. And if the audience loves it, perfect. For me, it's really about trying to associate yourself with great projects, whether it's great unknown talent or it's great known talent. Larry David wasn't really known other than being the creator of Seinfeld with Jerry, but you know, to be attached to that show is magical, and I'm really fortunate to have done that. Some other projects, you know, you never know what you're going to get. You know, Real Husbands of Hollywood, which I'm doing with Kevin Hart. You know, how can you go wrong with Kevin Hart? I mean, sometimes those things are magic, and you would be foolish not to take them. Other times things grow and build and take off, and it's I would say be in the right place at the right time and stand next to the smartest or most talented person you can. Hopefully they take you with them. When I first got into the business, I started as a PA, and it was like the most magical thing I could ever do. I'm on a set with people and stuff, and I'll get coffee, and this will be great. And I became the best PA they'd ever seen. And then I became a coordinator and became the best production coordinator they'd ever seen. But I kind of then fell into, well, what's the next show? What's the next show? And I wasn't really thinking the path. And at one point I ended up working on shows I didn't really want to be in an arena I didn't want to be in. And so I had to make a career change. And I've found through my career, oftentimes to get to where you want to go, you sometimes have to step down or step sideways or take the job that you don't necessarily want to do, but it's in the path. So again, back to that for me, it's pick the path for your career and try and get there. Pay the rent, I got it.